what personal hygiene was actually like for ancient humans. You wake up when your body is ready. No alarm, no schedule. You stretch your arms and rub the sleep from your eyes. Then, you head to the bathroom. You turn a metal handle. Hot water pours over your skin. You scrub away the oils and sweat of the night with a heavily scented soap. You brush your teeth with a mini paste. You apply deodorant under your arms. You feel human again. For 99% of human history, this exact routine was impossible. There were no hot showers. There was no indoor plumbing. There was no toothpaste. So what did you do? The popular modern image of ancient humans is pretty bleak. We picture them as filthy. We imagine grimy, foul-smelling cavemen covered in mud, grease, and parasites. We think of them as walking biohazards who did not care about the stench of their own bodies. But this is completely wrong. For roughly 300,000 years, your ancestors were surprisingly clean. In fact, in many ways, they were cleaner, healthier, and better smelling than the civilized people who lived thousands of years later during the Middle Ages. How did they manage it without plumbing? Let us reconstruct a typical morning in the Paleolithic era. You wake up on a bed of woven grasses and crushed aromatic leaves. You did not sleep in a dark, damp cave surrounded by rotting garbage. Your band of hunter-gatherers is nomadic. You move with the seasons. This is the very first secret of ancient hygiene. You simply walked away from your mess. When a camp got too dirty, you left it behind. You packed up your few belongings and walked to a fresh, untouched patch of earth. Nature took care of the rest. The beetles, the weather, and the scavengers recycled whatever waste you left. You never stayed in one place long enough to pollute your own water source. You never stayed long enough for human waste to pile up. Your home was always fresh, but you still needed to wash your actual body. If your camp was near a river, a lake, or an ocean, bathing was easy. You waded into the cold water. You rubbed fine sand or river mud over your skin. Sand is a natural abrasive. It works incredibly well to exfoliate dead cells and strip away excess oils. You might have also crushed the leaves of specific plants like soapwort between your hands. These plants contain saponins, natural chemical compounds that produce a lather when mixed with water. You were making your own botanical body wash. You scrubbed the dirt from your limbs, rinsed off in the current, and let the sun dry you. But this kind of washing did something else. Something modern soaps destroy. Today, microbiologists like Maria Gloria Dominguez Bello study the skin microbiome of isolated indigenous groups, like the Yanomami people in the Amazon. What they find is incredible. Ancient skin was covered in a rich, diverse forest of microscopic bacteria. These good bacteria acted as a living shield. They ate the sweat and oils your body produced. They outcompete harmful, disease-causing bacteria. When you scrub yourself with harsh modern chemical soaps, you annihilate this shield. Ancient humans did not smell like a modern, unwashed person because their skin microbiome was perfectly balanced. They smelled like the earth, the wind, and the wood smoke. Speaking of smoke, what if there was no water? What if you lived in a freezing climate during the Ice Age or a dry, arid savanna where water was too precious to waste on bathing? You used fire. You sat by the morning campfire and let the thick smoke wash over your body. Smoke bathing is a real, documented practice. Anthropologists like Polly Wiesner, who spent decades studying the Jew/Hoansi Bushmen of the Kalahari, have observed how indigenous groups use smoke and ash to clean themselves. Wood ash is incredibly useful. It is not just gray dirt. Ash contains a chemical called potassium hydroxide. When you mix wood ash with the natural oils and sweat on your human skin, a tiny chemical reaction occurs. It creates a crude, entirely natural soap. You are literally washing yourself with the ashes of your campfire. The smoke also acted as a powerful deodorizer. It permeated your hair and your clothes. It masked the scent of your body, which was vital for hunting. If you smelled like human sweat, the deer would run. If you smelled like a forest fire, you blended into the background of the natural world. What about your teeth? Without toothbrushes, surely your mouth was a disaster. Surely ancient humans walked around with rotting, blackened teeth and horrific breath. Not necessarily. Your ancient diet was very low in sugar. You did not eat refined carbohydrates, sticky candies, or processed grains. Because of this, dental cavities were incredibly rare. Your teeth wore down from chewing tough meat and fibrous roots, but they rarely rotted out of your skull. But you still got food stuck in your teeth. You still wanted a clean mouth. In the ancient world, a severe tooth infection was not just painful. It was a death sentence. Without antibiotics, an abscess in your jaw could spread to your brain in a matter of days. Keeping your teeth clean was not just about vanity. It was a matter of life and death. In 2017, paleoanthropologist Karen Hardy and her team analyzed the dental plaque of Neanderthals. These remains were found in El Sidrón cave in Spain. What the researchers found buried in the hardened plaque was astonishing. They found tiny fibers of wood. Your ancestors used toothpicks. They used stiff grasses, small twigs, and carved bone fragments to meticulously pick their teeth clean after a meal. They also chewed on specific plants. The El Sidrón Neanderthals chewed on yarrow and chamomile. These are bitter plants with virtually no nutritional value, but they have powerful natural medicinal and antibacterial properties. You were not just chewing weeds because you were hungry. You were self-medicating. You were actively freshening your breath and killing mouth bacteria. Archaeologist Stephen Buckley has also analyzed ancient dental calculus from early humans. He found chemical markers showing that they routinely chewed on pieces of birch bark. Why birch bark? Birch bark contains betulinic acid. This is a natural antiseptic and painkiller. By chewing on this bark, your ancestors were effectively using a prehistoric antibacterial mouthwash. They cared deeply about their oral hygiene. They felt the exact same annoyance you feel when a piece of meat is wedged between your back molars. And they took active steps to fix it. But there was a darker side to ancient hygiene, a constant crawling threat. Parasites, lice, fleas, and ticks were everywhere. They lived in the tall grasses. They lived on the animals you hunted. They carried disease, and they caused maddening itchiness. Without chemical shampoos or fine-toothed plastic combs, how did you get rid of them? You relied on your tribe. Let's look at a scene from a prehistoric evening. The sun is setting over the savanna. The day's foraging is done. The fire is crackling. You sit closely with your family members. You lean forward, and someone behind you begins to carefully part your thick hair. They take turns picking through each other's scalps. This is social grooming. It is a behavior we share with other primates, and it was essential for survival. This was not a silent activity. This was when stories were told. This was when the day's hunting was debated. Grooming was the social center of the ancient world. It was also deeply psychological. The physical touch of someone grooming you released floods of endorphins and oxytocin in your brain. Oxytocin is the bonding hormone. It lowered your heart rate. It reduced the massive stress of survival. It built deep, unbreakable trust between members of the band. Cleaning each other was the very glue that held ancient human societies together. You kept each other safe from disease, and in return, you built a family. You also had tools to help. Archaeologists have discovered ancient combs carved from bone and antler. Some of these date back thousands of years. You used them to scrape your scalp and physically pull out lice eggs. You also used Earth's natural chemicals. You might have coated your hair and skin in a mixture of animal fat and red ochre. Red ochre is an iron-rich clay that turns a deep, vibrant red when crushed. In places like Blombos Cave in South Africa, researchers have found ochre processing toolkits that are 100,000 years old. Your ancestors ground this clay into a paste and smeared it all over their bodies. It looks like decorative body paint, and it certainly was used for art and rituals. But it served a massive practical purpose. Ochre is a highly effective natural sunblock. It protects the skin from harsh, ultraviolet rays. But even more importantly, it acts as an insect repellent. It physically suffocates lice and ticks. It keeps mosquitoes from biting your skin. You were wearing prehistoric bug spray. So, if ancient hunter-gatherers were this meticulously clean, where did the stereotype of the filthy, stinking human come from? Here is the counterintuitive twist. Agriculture was a trap. Around 10,000 years ago, everything changed. The world warmed up, and you stopped moving. You learned to plant seeds. You learned to farm. You built permanent villages, which grew into towns, which grew into crowded cities. You started living side by side with domesticated animals. Cows, pigs, and sheep were kept right outside your door, or even inside your living space to keep them safe. And, crucially, you stopped walking away from your waste. Human and animal excrement piled up in the dirt streets. It seeped into the local rivers and contaminated the drinking water. The grain you stored to survive the winter attracted rats. The rats brought fleas. The fleas brought the plague. Suddenly, the natural world could no longer wash away your messes. You were living on top of your own garbage. This is when human health plummeted. This is when the devastating epidemics began. Cholera, smallpox, tuberculosis, and the bubonic plague. Almost all of these are zoonotic diseases. That means they mutated from the livestock you were suddenly living with and jumped into the human population. These diseases swept through the crowded, filthy early cities like wildfire. Your skeleton changed too. Archaeologists can look at the bones of early farmers and see the damage. Your bones became smaller and more brittle from the backbreaking labor. Your teeth, which had been pristine for hundreds of thousands of years, suddenly rotted out of your skull. Why? Because you were now eating a diet heavily based on grain and farm carbohydrates. The sugar fed the bacteria in your mouth, and the cavities multiplied. The rotting, stinking, disease-ridden human is not a Paleolithic reality. It is an invention of civilization. Settling down and building the first cities made you infinitely dirtier. It took us thousands of years to invent the modern plumbing, sewers, and sanitation systems needed to fix the absolute mess that early civilization created. Today, you stand in your sterile, brightly lit tile bathroom. You scrub yourself with complex chemical formulas created in laboratories. You use an electric brush vibrating thousands of times a minute to clean your teeth. You look in a mirror and think you were separated from the deep past by an unbridgeable gulf of technology and time. But underneath it all, the impulses are exactly the same. The urge to scrape away the dirt. The obsessive desire to pick that annoying fiber from your teeth. The deep, relaxing sigh when hot water or warm smoke washes over your skin. You're not doing anything new. You look in the mirror. You wake up when your body is ready. And you clean yourself.